I gotta go potty.
Fall season 2024 anime.
Welcome to my channel.
I just thought this jacket was so cute. I ended up not getting the pants because I was afraid of all the rhinestones falling off. What else? Oh, the Crunchyroll arc thing. I don't know how to describe that. Kind of like a Spotify wrap of your anime watching and viewing. I'll put mine on the screen. I don't know how this ranks compared to any of you, but hey, if you've got a similar ranking, let me know what yours was so I can compare and contrast your anime viewing quality. So good morning. How's your afternoon? Hope you're having a good night. I don't know if you've noticed, but this season of anime certainly was not the cream of the crop. Of course, there were some heavy hitters, but not everything was that great. I'm going to quickly go over everything I watched this fall season and what you should watch and what you can probably skip. I had 16 anime on my watch list this season. One, I'm waiting for the dub. I really feel like the dub is probably going to be the only way that I watch the rest of this. 4, we're continuing from a previous season, one of which I dropped immediately. I'm sure you can guess which one that was. 3 more were dropped after that. And I watched until I couldn't watch anymore, and then 4 more I actually recommend. So let's just get right off the tippy top here. Dragon Ball Daima. Did not watch waiting for the dub. I grew up watching Dragon Ball dubbed, so kinda need that connection to really get back into the swing of things. Watched ReZero, After School Hanako-kun, and Blue Lock Season 2. Lots of discourse around Blue Lock Season 2, but that's okay. That's okay. I did drop it, yes. That animation was just a little too much for me, and I got a lot of other things I'm watching, so I ended up dropping that one, even though it's continuing from previous seasons. Beastars, final season there. Final season part 1. Why did this one almost slip by me? I didn't even know that the final season was out. I did hurry up and watch all of that. I've got a bone to pick with Beastars. Quite honestly, that cliffhanger was ridiculous. I don't know why we needed a cliffhanger of that magnitude, considering we've been watching all along. I've been a fan this whole time. I did not need a cliffhanger of that size to keep me invested in seeing the rest of the story through. So, I don't know. That one caught me off guard. I'm gonna put it like that. It was good, caught me off guard, but don't worry about this final season unless you've already persevered through the rest, okay? The other 3 that I dropped immediately, and dropped immediately means I watched under 3 episodes. That's how I qualify an immediate drop. First, we've got The Do-Over Damsel Conquers the Dragon Emperor. Yeah, that one's got some questionable things happening. A girl who finds out that her betrothed is in an incestuous relationship with his sister, and they're abusive and not worth being married into that weirdness. So going back in time, and ends up getting engaged to one of her enemies in her previous life. He's 19, I believe she's 10, and he's got a preference for younger girls. Like, they really don't waste any time explaining that this man has a preference for young girls, almost to the point where he's acknowledged that she could be even younger, and that'd be even better. So yeah, I couldn't. I'm sorry. I dropped it. I also dropped 365 Days to the Wedding. I know, I really wanted to like that one. I really did. They really took their time at building up the romance. I see why we're at a slower pace. However, that does not make it interesting. We have 2 co-workers who work for a travel agency that will be sending a single individual to work in, I want to say, Alaska. And they need somebody who does not have a family or are married with dependents and responsibilities to go and move to Alaska. The lady, she ends up presenting the option to her coworker of faking their engagement to get out of being sent to this other office. And I guess the idea is that eventually they will come together and fall in love, but I don't really care. I don't really care. You know, they could fall in love, they could not, they could just get away with pretending, seeming as though they've fallen in love, but they could have did better. Quite honestly, they could have did better. So I dropped that one. And I also dropped Magie Lumiere, Magical Girls Inc. Companies hire and contract out magical girls to go defeat monsters and handle things that magical girls handle. Our main character, she ended up stumbling into this job by accident. She is somebody who has a really good memory, really good at studying. So she just felt like, okay, well, I can probably do this. And that's pretty much how she tackles becoming a magical girl, is just using her smarts, using her brain, studying, understanding what it is that needs to happen in order to get the best outcome. Sounds simple enough, and I didn't mind the concept of what they were trying to do. It just also was boring. So I also dropped that one pretty quickly. Now, let's roll on over to the other two. I watched quite a few episodes of these. You Are Miss Servant. Yep. Also was boring. Synopsis here: high school boy living alone because his parents are not around, and he ends up hiring a maid to help with the housework. But the maid that he hires is a former assassin who just showed up on his doorstep one day. You know, typical anime rhyme and reason. She doesn't know anything about being a maid, of course, because she's an assassin, and she wants to be a normal girl, live a normal life, experience normal things. She is introduced to several different things that seem mundane or very, average, like katsuda sauce. She loves katsuda sauce. She's shy. She's got a lot of conflicting emotions. The main focus is really on her becoming a normal girl and living a normal life and going to high school and maybe falling in love with our main character. I just feel disappointed. Go ahead and skip that one. And I'm sorry to say that because I was enjoying it to an extent. Like episode 3, I was like, probably don't need to really watch the rest of this. Pushed on to episode 5 and was like, okay, I guess I'm getting the vibe. And then they lost me again. They added in another assassin character and they lost me again. Crunchyroll's rating for it was a 4.7, which is pretty high. My anime list rating gave it a 7. My rating is a 6.5. It's not something that I'd end up recommending to anyone. So if you did enjoy this one, let me know why. We've also got Demon Lord 2099. I also dropped this one after 6 episodes. Main story here is about a demon lord who ended up dying back in the medieval days, and then he's reincarnated at some point in the future. The city is bright and vibrant. Magic is available and abundant to everyone through technology. So our demon lord is no longer as powerful as he once was, nor does anyone really remember him or who he used to be. He's not able to get whatever chip allows people to use magic in the current society that's been built, and that was intentional. Without magic, he can't do very much, though he still has his traditional magic. I don't know. This one also went on to just be kind of boring at the end of the day. There were some cool moments that I thought we would have leaned on a lot more. For example, the way that he decides to become monetarily sufficient is becoming a streamer and putting on his demon lord persona as a character of sorts, and that inspires a following. People really buy into it, not knowing that he's actually a demon lord. But that wasn't really the primary focus of the show. Once they introduced that little detail, I really thought that that was going to be kind of the whole point, watching him grow his audience and engage and do his demon lord thing as a character for an audience. But no, I don't really know where they're headed after that. He gained a following all in about 1 episode, and they really didn't, drag us through any struggles there. He was pretty damn successful at it. So Demon Lord 2099. I'm gonna say you can skip this one. Crunchyroll gave it a 4.7. My anime list gave it a 7.4. I give it a 6. Now we're going to get into the shows that I did actually finish, because I felt like I dropped a lot of shows this time around. Usually I can persevere, but not this time. First show up, Yakuza Fiance. I watched the whole thing just because I really wanted to get a full understanding of what it was that was drawing people to the show. Having a very audacious first couple of episodes where they show you something like, oh my god, the show is going to be violent and edgy, and we've got our psychotic main love interest. This man is just a psycho. He's just a violent person. And his fiance, the granddaughter of another Yakuza household, she's not as crazy, except she is. Who would have thought? She has the drive to go about having a relationship with this man just to break his heart at some point because he's a weirdo. I don't really know why she's decided to put herself in this position. She claims that it's because it's a point of pride. Nobody can fuck her over, nobody can fuck with her, and she's going to teach him a lesson because upon their first meeting, pretended as though he was just so nice and genuine, and then he revealed his true self to her, called her boring, said you should probably sell your body or whatever because I don't really give two fucks about you. And that drove her to sell her kidney to prove to him that she's not the type of girl he thinks she is. And he falls in love with her on the spot. This is the type of girl that he really, really wants. This show is stupid, okay? It is. I'm sorry. It's not that great at all. It's really horrendous at most times, and I don't even know what is keeping anyone's attention other than waiting for something crazy or egregious to happen. And there are a bajillion shows that do that and do that better. The guys, the Yakuza men, they're not even that hot. We don't even have any real tension beyond, oh, we know she's going to try and break his heart at some point, so she's never going to really get feelings for him. She's just stringing him along. But what's most frustrating with that is knowing that eventually you're going to change your mind and you're going to find a reason to actually go through with this engagement and marry this man and have a life with him. Though you're presenting this very deep front, everybody else in her circle is trying to figure out why even go through all the trouble. And that's where I'm left feeling, why even bother? Why even go through all the trouble? If you have as much power and will to subject yourself to this man's crazy for the hell of it, that does put you in the same category as him. But I don't buy it. I don't buy it. I don't enjoy it. Yakuza Fiance, you can go ahead and skip. Crunchyroll gave it a 4.8. My anime list gave it a 7.2. I give it a 6.5. And that's just being generous. There were times that I got a chuckle here and there, but I would not recommend anyone actually waste their time watching this. I did, and I don't think that I care about a second season. If you were one of the fans of Yakuza Fiance, please let me know in the comments why that might be, because I couldn't see it. I couldn't. I'm sorry. Following that up, TsumaSho. TsumaSho synopsis is about a man whose wife is reincarnated as an elementary school student. It is not as morally dubious as the title would have you believe. They don't go into any romantic territory. They really use her as a device to just make the family heal so that they're not stuck in the past. It is still just as weird as a premise like that would be. This child has a mother, okay? She does not know that her child has been reincarnated. They do explain to this child's mother how their mom is in the body of this child and how they want her to continue to be their wife, their mother, which I found to be extremely selfish. That was the thing that really kind of irked me, was how audacious they were about claiming this child for themselves because they were not able to move on without their mother, wife in their life. That once they recognized that she's only possessing this child, not reincarnated, not born again, They still didn't want her to move on to the afterlife, which was insane to me. At the end of the day, she did die. You guys got extremely lucky and fortunate to have her even come back for a short duration to help you stop wallowing in self-pity. Further explanation, when her mother passed away, their household became loveless, essentially. They sit around the table eating takeout, feeling sorry for themselves, and they've never really moved past her death, which, you know, makes total sense. If you lose a loved one in a tragic accident and it's far too soon for them to be gone, not everyone recovers in record time. And it had been, 10 years? And you guys are still not content with having had just one more year of her presence. So much so that y'all are like, no, this kid is my wife, this kid is my mom. Like, you can't have her. We're gonna keep her if, you know, you don't treat her right. Which her mother was just like, who are you and how dare you come in here telling me something like that? I found it strange that they'd even tell that lady about this weirdness in the first place. All in all, the show was interesting for what it was, because I've never seen a show quite like that. I enjoyed it more than Yakuza Fiance, because I at least wanted to know how they would resolve such a story. But I'd also say this one is not necessarily one I would recommend. You can definitely skip this one. Crunchyroll gave it a 4.4. My anime list gave it a 7.5. I give it a 6.5. Now we can move on to the shows that I do actually recommend you watch. We're going to start that off with Orb on the movements of the earth. Orb is about 15th century Poland. They believe that the earth is the center of the universe. Planets revolved around the earth, that God understood that people were not as worthy of living in the heavens, and that is why earth is the bottom of the universe. The church is all powerful at this point. 12-year-old prodigy Raphael, he believes in rationality, so following in the footsteps of his adoptive father, studying theology and studying astronomy is essentially forbidden for him. A heretic who is released from prison introduces him to the idea that the earth is revolving around the sun, and that this belief is considered to be the true beauty of the world and the cosmos, that this would explain stars move in certain patterns and then stop at certain times. Once that information enters his brain, he is now completely invested in the idea that this is something that he can prove. But proving that the sun is the center of the universe and that the earth revolves around the sun, it is unheard of, it is blasphemous, and it is illegal, and they may burn you at the stake. He's challenged himself with trying to maintain such a secret, and this is just a little bit of a spoiler, but the story doesn't stop with Raphael. This is something that takes years and years and years to prove, and you have to be willing to stake your life on it. Essentially, the church isn't playing. This one is not completely out as recording this right now. There are like 25 episodes, I want to say. This is also a Netflix anime, so my anime list rated it an 8.3. I'm rating it at a 7.5 just because it's not completely finished. I've only watched 7 episodes. I think that this one is definitely worth putting on your watch list and giving it a shot if you don't mind shows that are just a little bit more thought-provoking and historically driven. Okay. Next we've got How I Attended an All Guys Mixer. That one's on High Dive. This story is really cute, and I know last video I said that there aren't too many shows that explore romantic dynamics and cross-dressing, but this one, to my surprise, is another one of those hidden treasures. A group of 3 girls that invite 3 boys to attend a mixer, but when they show up for this mixer, they show up in guys' clothes. And the boys are confused because they thought they were invited by a group of girls, but these girls happen to work at a drag king bar, which means they are women who dress up like men and put on men personas to flirt with the patrons of the bar. They didn't have time to change their clothes when they got off of work, so that's why they showed up as guys. These boys, they're also pretty confused as to what a drag king bar even is supposed to be. So they're introduced to a whole new world, a whole new dynamic, and it's super duper cute in my opinion. I did hear somebody call this like a taste test for those who are too scared to watch yaoi. Fair warning, they are women, but they are dressed up as guys. This one is definitely worth watching because it is totally a comedic romance that happens fairly quickly. They don't waste any time getting into the meat and potatoes of what these dynamics are supposed to be like. You've got 3 different relationships to analyze and watch grow. If you have a High Dive subscription or if you can find it on another website. My anime list rating for this is a 7.4. I'm rating it a 7. And the only reason I'm rating it a 7 is just because it ended a little but if they gave it a season 2, I would totally watch. So definitely give that one a go. So next we have Ranma 1/2. This is a Netflix anime. It is a remake of a older anime. So think back to Urusei Yatsura or Inuyasha, something of that timeline. This also kind of falls into the whole cross-dressing thing, though our main character isn't cross-dressing. Anytime he falls into like cold water, he becomes a girl. His father also fell into a pool of water. The pool of water he fell into turns him into a panda. If he has hot water poured on him, turns back into a boy. There isn't too much strong story-driven narrative happening beyond antics. And there are a million antics that ensues with people who are attracted to the girl Ranma, people who are attracted to the boy Ranma, people who are attracted to his fiance. Does Ranma and his fiance have an attraction to one another? Really, they do have a much more tumultuous relationship. It's not lovey-dovey in the beginning. It's very like, I don't really fuck with you and I don't want to get married to you. But this show really had a lot of fun moments. I've never watched the original Ranma, so this was my first introduction to it. Certainly reminding me of a lot of like the old anime that I really enjoyed growing up. Definitely was a nostalgia kick if you're just looking for something fun, a little lighthearted, with, you know, the general tension of a romance that's brewing on the sideline. My anime list rated it an 8.1. And I'm gonna rate this one an 8. I really liked this a lot. You should definitely give this one a go. At least the first 3 episodes if you're not totally confident about it. Last but certainly not least, Dandadan. Of course I watched Dandadan. Definitely not anything that I would have been able to anticipate. I don't think I've seen a show quite like that. The animation blew me away. The colors, the action, the tension, the dynamic of our main characters, it was all perfect, essentially. Slow burn between Ken and Momo, definitely 10 out of 10. Love their dynamic so much. Even the introduction of our side characters, they also have a lot going that really brings a lot of fun to the show. It was peak, quite honestly. They keep the energy high. There aren't any times where I felt bored or disinterested. I kind of started to wish that the intro song wasn't leaked. You'd had already heard the song so many times that I did have to skip the intro from time to time when watching the anime, which kind of sucks because it's a great intro. There are going to be a lot of criticisms despite everything that it does well. Some of the things they're willing to put on screen. I do see why that might be one of people's biggest criticisms for this show. Boundary pushing, those scenes that made most people uncomfortable for good reason, makes it difficult for me to recommend this show. Explaining how they should overlook something like that just doesn't feel like the best thing to do. Like those ickier moments put a damper on what the whole show really was about. I'm not going to fault anyone for not feeling up to the task when you're presented with something that makes you go, too soon, you know? And maybe that's just how it's gonna be. Crunchyroll rated it a 4.9, which I'm not surprised. My anime list rated it an 8.6. And I'm gonna rate it an 8.5. I'm excited to see what the second season is gonna bring us. This one's on Crunchyroll and Netflix and Hulu, I think. That pretty much wraps up my little fall season 2024 recap for you guys. If there's anything that you think is a hidden gem of this particular season, please let me know. There are a couple of shows that I didn't end up getting to up on the screen. If you've watched either of these shows, just let me know what you thought. so I can hurry up and check those off, right? I am most excited for this upcoming season of anime. The winter 2025 season of anime is going to be spectacular. It does feel like a nice little reward after being stuck with such a trash season. It was trash, but hey, I'll see you guys in the next video.
もしもし